for the Emerson Dreamforce IoT session. We're just going to walk through and build the use case. Okay, make my screen a little bit bigger. All right, first things first, we're going to go over to Setup. And we're going to go to Platform Events. I'm going to create a new platform event called DF17. It can be standard volume, and we can go ahead and save that. Next, we're going to create some custom fields for this. We're going to create the first one as serial number. It'll be a text25 field. That's going to be serial number 25, and we need to make this one required. Okay, next, we're going to create a temperature field, which will be a number, be a 5-2. Oh, I selected text. I should have selected number. This will be a temperature 5-2, and this does not need to be required. Okay, so our platform event is already built. Let's go ahead and create a context. Okay, we're going to call this context cargo context. Select the key type as string. We're going to associate it with an asset, and we're going to use the tracker ID as the object key. Save that. Now we're going to add the platform event that we just created. In this case, the container read. We're going to call it DF17 and serial number. Okay. Save that, and then we can get started with our orchestrations. So we're going to go over to orchestrations, create a new one. We're going to call this temp monitoring, and we're going to select our cargo context. Okay, so we're going to start by creating a start state and a warm temperature state. All right. In the start state, we're going to set the first rule to be triggered by the DF17 event type. We're going to type DF17.temperature is greater, and what we're doing here is we're referencing a field on the asset object, asset.warmTemp. We're also going to make this temperature hot temp. Okay, so what we've done here is we're saying if the temperature in the incoming event is between the warm temp, it's greater than the warm temp and less than the hot temp, then we're going to do something. And what we're going to do is we're going to write out to a debug event record or object that we've already created. And in this, we are going to write to both the temperature and the message. So the temperature, we're going to write df17.temperature. The message, we're going to do detected for set.tracker ID. Okay, all right, so we're just saying there's been a warm alert detected for this particular ID. We're not going to create a response event. We're going to name this warm alert notice. And then we're going to transition over to the warm temperature state. Okay. Similarly, over in our warm temperature, we're going to create another rule. That rule is going to have no condition. What we're going to do is we're going to create a Salesforce record, in this case a case, and we're going to map a few fields here. Okay, so we're going to map the ID field so that we can actually create the record correctly. We're going to create the subject. We're going to make our subject warm temperature detected. And we're going to stringify the temperature coming out of the event. And for this one, we're actually going to create a response event, and we're going to call it warm case, and we're going to use that in a little bit. We're going to name this action create warm case. Okay, finish that. And we're not going to create a transition for the moment. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to duplicate this state. We're going to call it hot temperature state. All right, and within our hot temperature state, actually, we're going to come back up here and we're going to make this guy change this to be df temperature greater than asset.hotTemp, basically saying if the temperature coming off of the device is greater than the hot temperature threshold. What we're going to do here is we're actually going to change this to hot alerts and this to hot alert as well. Okay, and then we're going to change this transition to hot temperature. All right. Okay, and here what we're going to do is we're going to change this to be a hot temperature, hot case, create a hot case. All right, I think we got that correct. And when this actually executes, we want it to exit with success. Okay, so now we're about halfway done here. Let's go ahead and create the variables that we need. We need two variables. We need a warm case ID and a hot case ID. These are going to be text variables. These are going to be set using the custom value. Event type. Oh, I'm going to actually select this warm case and hot case respectively. This is warm case.id and this is hot case.id. All right, and these initial values will be null and null. All right. Okay, so we got the variables done. So let's go over and finish up our rules now that we actually have access to whether or not the case has been created. Let's go ahead and add some conditionals and finish out these states. So in the warm temperature, we're going to say warm case ID is equal to null. And then we're going to duplicate this. Remove the action. We're going to change this to a not equal to null. And then we're going to go back to start if that's the case. In this case, what we want to do is, if this is actually equal to null, we want to create the case. If it isn't equal to null, we don't want to. Basically, making sure that we don't create a bunch of cases, even if the threshold is exceeded. And similarly, down here, we're going to say the hot case, case ID is equal to null. We're going to create that case, and then we're going to exit. Okay. We've pretty much finished this up. Okay, so that's saved successfully. We're going to go ahead and activate this. Activate. When that completes, we'll go over to traffic. And then what we're actually going to do is we're going to test this out. Now, during the session, we actually use an electric imp to send the data that tests this. But here we can just use Workbench. So we're going to send to It's actually the URL of this particular org, Emerson Cargo lightning.force.com/services data 41 s-objects df17, which is the endpoint for the platform event. And we're going to send this that's just basically going to initialize. And we've done things correctly. We got a success here. So we can go over to our orchestration. This typically takes anywhere between 5 to 7 seconds for these to show up. The actual record creates are quicker than the updates on this screen. Okay, that's good news. I'm actually going to tab over. I've got some more events in here I'm going to use. So we're going to send a warm event. So 72 degrees. Execute this, and what we should see again about 5 to 7 seconds from now is that the warm temperature state should pop. And then what we can do is we can actually go over and test to make sure that the case got created. So let's go over and switch to our service application. I clicked it there. There we go. Case. All right. So we've got one created here. I think that was us. If not, let's give it one more try here. I think we may need to have sent it twice. I think if we go back here and refresh, yep, there we go. Warm temperature. Let's go ahead and keep this sorted like that. And then let's go ahead and boost the temperature quite high. Let's go to 80. Should be back in the start state. We need to send another event, 72 degrees. Because the way we've written our rules here, when this comes in and the case is not equal to null, we'll go back to start. So indeed, that's what we've done. And then let's go ahead and send that 80 degrees. Execute that. Over, and we should go from start over to hot temperature. And we'll send once more to do the record create. And what we should see, indeed, we've seen a hot temperature detected. All right, that's the entire build. If anyone is curious, we have additional documentation in the GitHub repo, and we've also shared the presentation, which provides a little bit more context for why this is an important use case for Emerson and how Salesforce IoT factors into their business transformation. Thanks.